This is the Dr. Chris Radio Horror Show on the Radio Horror YouTube channel, and we bring you another horror movie review from the blonde in front of fear, reviewing The Nun.
Hello, hello, all you boils and ghouls. It's Blonde in Front of Fear, reviewing The Nun for you, directed by Corin Hardy. It's a New Line Cinema film. Now, this is a prequel and somewhat of a sequel to The Conjuring 2. Valak, the demon Valak, which was the nun in The Conjuring 2. One of the scariest creatures I have ever witnessed, and while I was not a big fan of The Conjuring 2, that nun scared the bejesus out of me. Now, I am one in the habit of seeing, fairly good horror movies. And, I always support a sister when there's a female lead and stuff like that. I pray that if they do another film, it's going to be better than this one, because Lord Almighty, I had many problems with this. Now, this movie is the basis of Valak, which they do a good job, but not really a good job of doing. It stars Taissa Farmiga, Damian Bashir, and a very nice little surprise in Jonas Bluquet, who plays Frenchie, who you do not see in any of the trailers. The jump scares were so many, and I was even afraid of the jump scares. I did like the gothic look of the Abbey and whatnot, because Damian Bashir and Taissa Farmiga's characters are going to a convent abbey to find out about the suicide of a nun. And this is labeled as Witness the Darkest Chapter in the Conjuring Universe. Yeah, it's the darkest chapter in the Conjuring series because no one paid the electric bill. It is so dark in here that you couldn't see some of the stuff. I know they have all these things about the nuns with the black faces and stuff that are like covered up. To me, that seem so much like the nuns in High Spirits that were from Daryl Hannah and a Steve Guttenberg film, that I wasn't all that scared of them. In fact, I was actually more scared of the nuns in High Spirits. And then you had a couple things from Silent Hill, and of course, anyone who's seen Tales from the Crypt, Demon Knight, you're really gonna recognize that ending. Would I say you should see this? I don't know. I mean, look, start to finish, this movie took 15 months to make, which for a big studio film, that says a lot. I mean, they were actually trying to get this out in July, which is crazy. But I honestly think they should have taken more time. Like, these graveyard scenes that they have honestly reminded me of, I don't know, like the scenes that you have, like, of Halloween with people doing their front yards of graveyards. I would compare them to that. Like, that could have been a little bit better. And yeah, say a Hail Mary and consider yourself lucky if you don't pay for this. But if you do, then #blessed. Good luck. And I mean, I say this is a Jeers to Fear, but that is my opinion. And, you got to see it for yourself to let me know what you think.
What did you think of the fact that once we knew who Valak was and that he's not really a nun, did you really think it was necessary for him to stay in the nun costume through most of his appearances? It seemed like it wasn't really necessary, considering, they know he's not a nun.
No, and that was one of it was the whole basis of what that was. It's like, it would have been something if this was a nun that was one of the most devout nuns and Valak took over their body, but I never got that in the film. And I also didn't get that any of the other nuns were like converted into demons, but they were more victims. So I didn't feel like, oh my gosh, this demon is so powerful. It's like, well, no, you're just a jerk. I mean, you're killing all these nuns and I feel bad for them, but I don't feel like you're like, oh, you can convert anyone and everyone's going to fall to your power. It's like, no, I mean, you're just a jerky demon nun. So, I mean, but yeah, who's dressed up like a nun. I mean, hey, no offense to Bonnie Aarons. I think she looks amazing as a nun, but I also feel like they did so many things where it's like, oh, let's follow this pathway to this thing that's obviously going to lead to something bad, which like, what? No, what are you doing? And one of the things that I liked about Bonnie Aarons in The Conjuring 2 is that you saw a little bit of her, but not so much. And that just, I mean, I had to sleep with the lights on after The Conjuring 2. I didn't think that movie was good other than the part with the nun. So to see this was just disappointing. I really expected more.
Did you think it was funny they cast Vera Farmiga's younger sister from the American Horror Story franchise?
I mean, I think Thaisa does a great job, but I also thought that maybe there was going to be some sort of connection to her character and then Mrs. Warren, like maybe Warren, you know,
Newer?
Is it Elaine Warren? Yeah, that she would have like, she had possibly was a nun or was considering being a nun, and that was her in a former life, and then you see her like 20 years later, but it didn't happen. So I was like, oh, okay.
That would be very interesting. I don't know the true history of the Warrens enough to speculate on this, but it being Hollywood, maybe they can fictionize certain things, because I'm sure it's documented somewhere how she met her husband. But wouldn't it be interesting if, like, she was studying to be a nun and she, you know, believed in the supernatural, and she met this young man who also believed in the supernatural, and obviously you can't help what your heart does, and she starts falling in love with you know, her future husband, and she decides not to become a nun and pursue the demonology stuff along with him, as he becomes the, you know, only non-priest to ever become an exorcist.
Well, and that's one of the reasons why I thought they cast Thaisa, because I thought that was kind of they were going to lead up to, oh, this was actually her, and this was like kind of her origin story along with Valak, and that's where they have this connection in, you know, the sequel to The Conjuring. But no, it that didn't happen at all. So I was like,
Wouldn't that make her though much older though if Farmiga's younger sister becomes the older sister later on? Or am I wrong? Because when does this movie take place? In the 50s?
This is 1952,
Okay.
and then the stuff
after the events of Annabelle Creations
was 1972 or 1968, something like that. I mean, let's be honest though, Frenchie seemed to not age in the time between this movie and the second Conjuring, because I noticed that.
Frenchie definitely had a thing for Tessa Farmiga.
Well, who wouldn't have a thing? Thing is, who wouldn't have a thing for Frenchie? I mean, like I said, hey, easy on the eyes. And it's like, that was a very pleasant surprise that I did not see coming from the trailer. So thank you for that.
Check out the rest of the videos and reviews here on the Radio Horror YouTube channel. Thank you, everybody. And check out the rest of Catie's reviews on her own website, The Blonde in Front.